What up? We're here in Detroit and we're here with Spark Cycleworks. They decided to stop by, hang out, and show us Project Javelin.
A little cluttered and tight, but it's been very comfortable. Just two chairs from the office held on by ratchet straps, Nintendo Switch going. It's been great. I don't know. And then, yeah, you can see the go-kart on top, but it is jammed on top of all of the bikes right now. We got to get that out first. When we were at the cafe and we saw him rolling up with his team, it was like, are we back in Brantford right now? It's cool to see two very similar communities.
Obviously we're on the retail and repair end of it, but having all this insight into the back end of both the e-bike industry and the moped industry and just, manufacturing in the city of Detroit here is really exciting. So we've hit kind of like the apex of what we feel comfortable doing with the vintage bikes. So we're excited to see this thing and all the features that Spark's put on it.
So this is the Javelin. This bike was finished being designed in the beginning of October, and since October we've been working on the design even more, and we'll start by doing a small batch, and then every month we'll just kind of increase it little by little. One of my favorite bikes of all time is a Honda S90. This geometry, this layout, if you took the side panel off, the way this comes forward like this, I think I was subconsciously or maybe consciously inspired by the S90 quite a bit. It has 19-inch wheels. Category for this bike is really a blur between the moped and light electric motorcycle. With a larger wheel, we're going to gain a little bit of efficiency. It's not going to be so quick off the line, but it's going to be way more stable at those high speeds. Legitimate kind of all-terrain-y tire. A lot of the roads we ride on have big potholes and things, and maybe there's sand and snow, so having this tire is helpful. Motorcycle front brake and front fork. One of the goals was to add a more analog experience. Even things like turning on the accessory light using toggle switches. The bike does have accessory 12 volts built into it, so you can just take the side panel off and there's a series of plugs. You just tie right into the 12 volt and you can control it right from here. You got your speed setting and your headlight, and then this particular one has 5 toggle switches for other things. We will have different panels depending on what you want. If I turn the key on, you can see the screen will start to engage. If I was connected right now, it would have AirPlay, so you have your whole GPS system on here. So if you want to go out for a ride somewhere and you don't really know how to get there, just take your phone out, put it on maps, and now you have your entire map section right here. The controls on the handlebars are interesting. Probably not what we're going to go with. This is more of a test. Right turn signal on your right hand, left turn signal on your left hand. Then you have horn and cruise control. And then you have an overdrive, which will push the full capacity of the bike. 2 running modes, eco mode and a track mode, and then you can overdrive that for 5 seconds. It's basically running a 3,000 watt motor. In the higher speed mode, you're getting more like 10,000. And then if you would hit the overdrive, you would hit more like 16 to 17,000 watts. So this thing is not like a wheelie machine. It's a nice controlled acceleration. It's smooth. In the actual production bike, this panel goes behind. And so it's like a nice, clean line. And also if the bike falls on the side, you don't damage your panel. We're gonna have tons of different panel options. So I got a stainless steel one on this side, and then the other side is that transparent acrylic. The way the seat works is kind of funky on this one. You pull that and then it opens like this. Well, on the actual bike, the hinge is up front and it folds this way. And if you put your hand underneath the back, there's a button. So you reach under the bike, hit that button, and the seat pops up like this. Your battery is in here, 72 volt. It's a 40 amp hour. Right now, I've been using a 100 amp BMS, and then this battery actually runs to a circuit breaker. So storage is really important, and so we tried to make it big enough so that it can fit your charger. You can run the charger right to here, and then there will be an output on the back, so you can just run the cord right from the bike. The controller we're using right now, it's a Far Driver. It's an ND72360, completely open source, not locked, nothing. You can get your phone out, dial it in to the settings that you'd like. You can dial the throttle curve. So if you're somebody that likes really snappy throttle, you can do that. Or if you want really gradual throttle, you can do that too. You will be able to buy the bike as no motor, no wheel, no battery, and you could take your existing motor and your existing controller and put it in there.
Part of the reason that I don't like modding the e-bikes that we sell is because we're selling a nice product. So if you can buy a bike where you haven't invested money in stuff you don't need, that to me makes a lot of sense, and that makes the modding a lot more logical in the way that my brain thinks about it.
This bike uses a system that is all laser cut steel, and it all goes together like a big jigsaw puzzle. And you can see these holes. I didn't finish them because it's a test bike, right? The bolts hold the frame together, and then the welder goes down the lines and welds the entire frame together. You pull the bolts out, and now you have an entire frame. So there is zero upfront jig cost, which also means that we can make slight design modifications without having to create new jigs. That is one of the reasons we've been able to keep the initial cost of the bike low, is because we're not trying to recoup that huge investment. And that's also why we can make it in the United States. So looking at the back end, this is the swing arm, 1/4-inch steel for the main thing. And then there's 2 trusses that go here to make it very, very rigid. You might think that you would need a tubular system to make it super rigid, but this has proven to be very, very stable. And then the actual motor mounts back here, there is an additional 1/2-inch tool steel. This is the same kind of steel that they use for making injection molding. It's not just carbon steel. These things are very tough, and it's what's gonna help us withstand regen and everything like that. This is 150 millimeters, so you can take a fat tire e-bike motor and mount it right in here. And then on the other side, this is a Tektro hydraulic brake. It does not have a motorcycle brake in the back. Maybe eventually we will do that. It's something I want to do, but this allowed us to keep with all those e-bike sizes. And also, if you think about it, we run regen on here. So the regen is strong enough where you don't even need a rear brake. It's electronic braking, and between the front and regen, this thing stops like very well. You can see we only have about 1 or 2 inches of clearance, and that's because it's ready for the track tomorrow. But we will do shocks that are about 1 inch longer, so that gives you about a 4-inch clearance. And while yes, everyone's gonna be like, why isn't it a monoshock? I know, a monoshock would be very cool maybe someday, but because we did a dual setup like this, we've gained this entire storage setup, and it's made it so that the bike is not another 6 inches long, which is very important for shipping, which is like not something you'd think about.
First time sitting on the Spark Javelin. It looked really big, so I was a little bit nervous that for me coming from a smaller bike situation that it was gonna feel kind of big and clumsy even though I'm a bigger guy. The suspension feels plenty good so far. So, excited to hit a couple of potholes here and see what it does. I guess they said that the power is not gonna be too torquey, which for me is good, especially selling stuff. I want bikes to be safe to ride. Riding them, I want them to be safe to ride. So I'm excited to feel a controlled power with this thing. Taking it nice and easy, just barely touching the throttle. So far, so smooth. Yep, there's the torque. Feels great, nice smooth suspension, smooth acceleration. Woo. Need to not catch wind with that visor on account of all this power that this thing's given me. Feels very comfortable. The regen is not too strong in my opinion. I think it feels comfortable. The front disc is doing its job, very sensitive, but not awkwardly so. The speedometer I think is not currently dialed in, so I have no idea how fast I'm going, but I'm very easily sticking with traffic. Switching lanes, as they say. Another extremely smooth ride. I've got this thing wound out, so I don't know exactly what kinds of speeds I'm hitting right now, but nothing weird when braking relatively aggressively. So that feels nice, comfortable, good, strong and smooth brakes, just like the strong and smooth acceleration. So it seems like this thing is dialed in pretty well. I like the foot peg position on this thing. Not too high, not too low. This thing keeps me tucked enough without squashing my big body. So this feels pretty nice. Smooth bike, comfortable, feels very safe at the wound out speeds, which is a thing that I'm, from the vintage moped perspective, not used to bikes that when they're fully wound out feel fully safe, and this one does feel fully safe, fully wound out. So I am digging this thing. I can see this being something that I could daily. And I know they were talking about suburban riding, but here in the city we've got a lot of large roads, large open roads where we're able to take advantage of some long straightaways.
will say, maybe it's a little too smooth. I can't help but only hold it wide open. But no, that is an entirely good thing, and I feel great. Feel great riding this thing. Comfort on every level, very powerful. I was able to hold it wide open the entire time basically, which is probably not how I should be riding, but you know, you got to get a feel for it. And I was holding it wide open and not feeling anything but joy at those speeds. I'm excited to hopefully get some of these in the store and get some of these in customers' hands, because I think that everybody on them is going to have as comfortable and as exciting of an experience as I did.
All right, we're back on the Spark Javelin. A couple years ago, I tried the prototype. It was really in its early stages, but it was exciting to see these guys, build it out, the laser cut frame, and all the things that they wanted to do has been done, and it's still being iterated on. But man, sitting on this thing with the moto parts, just like where the saddle is, it just feels like a proper, light electric motorbike. It's in that gray area, and that gray area is a lot of fun. Now, in terms of accessibility, I'm on the shorter end, and I feel really comfortable right now. I'm not like feeling like I'm gonna tip over or anything like that. So I think we should just get right into it. There's a lot of control switches here that I don't remember, but I think we're dialed in. Just a little test right here in the parking lot. And yeah, okay. So the controller tune, the ramp up speed, I say smooth a lot, and I feel like I overuse the word smooth, but replace smooth with every other adjective to describe how a controller would feel once you hit the throttle. That's what it feels like. Super silent. Okay. Yeah, all right. Lots of power off the line, and it can be tuned to go even higher. The parts that are on this bike and the geometry of the frame and where they're located on the bike, it makes a lot of sense. In the way that Matt described it, and why they put the controller where it is, and the motor and the swing arm and the frame design. Once you get on the bike, it's a feeling, right? It's hard to describe unless you ride it. Like the controller just, whatever tune they're using on the far driver is perfect. This has come such a long way from the prototype. I'm not surprised, right? With Matt's, engineering background, with Matt's passion for open source stuff, part components that are sort of like off the shelf, that are battle tested, right? That can be replaced easily with very minimal proprietary stuff. It all makes sense, like why change something that has been battle tested? If you're looking for something that is like your main vehicle, your main commuter vehicle, something to replace your car, I think the Javelin is definitely what you should be looking at, because of all the features and all the ways you could customize it to how you like to ride. But honestly, the parts that are on this thing right now, on this frame right now, it's perfect. It's so dialed in. If there's one way to describe this bike, I think it's dialed in, and this is just riding it around in the parking lot. I can't wait to see what Spark's gonna do as they continue to innovate this design.